No, there's not. You can make a copy. You know how to make a copy? On the copy, or I'm Getzel will make it for you.
I can try it.
Okay.
Pain in my head. Your back?
No.
Is your back number? I'll do some more back manipulations on you.
I'll just listen today, maybe.
Yeah? Okay.
He got good memory.
He has good memory, yeah? You know him from childhood.
A lot of it's...
You still remember. You got a good memory. You got a better memory than memory.
Lots and lots of paradigms.
I mean, I guess it's a story. The lowest of the low.
Yes, Khaled.
It's a crazy story.
I'm in the middle of class now. 5:45. Okay.
You ever heard the Baal Shem Tov story? Five-ish, the lowest of the low.
What was that?
Mekadeh Shem Shemayim.
Say again?
Five-ish, the lowest of the low is Mekadeh Shem Shemayim.
Go ahead. Tell me.
Briefly, whatever we just said. The story is so long.
The more time you spend talking about
Pretty much five-ish was a big Talmud Chacham. He grew up, he learned Chacham. Became a big Talmud Chacham. He knew everything. And then he started getting into the business world. And he was like a little apprehensive. And the way the first, he was like davening every day, but he was working, and his mind was involved with work. And then he was making it only to chakras, and then his work was growing and becoming more successful, and then he was davening more quickly before he'd go to work. And eventually, he became the apprentice of the king, or the pirates at the time, and he started eating like in the house. He started like not worrying so much about the kashrus, and he didn't realize that there were lards and fats inside the food. And he came to eat, started eating treif and changed his dress and everything. And he was very, very successful in business and became very separated. And everybody knew Fivish, like, that he was a sinner, big sinner in town, very successful. And he had two daughters. He had a daughter who he wanted to marry off. No one would marry his daughter, so he traveled to like the other end, like somewhere in Hungary. So he goes to Hungary, and he did this whole trick. He went from town to town, and he saw like big time.
He was a good guy, and
Yeah, but then he was a good guy. Basically, he ended up tricking one of the Talmud Chacham and his son. They didn't have a lot of money in their community, and like that he was a big Talmud Chacham. Well, he did a whole trick with the shotgun. Shotgun told him like there's a peddler, and pretended that Fivish was his big Talmud Chacham, and basically tricked this guy into marrying his daughter. And when he came, he said to the daughter that if you want to. He said to the son-in-law, like, you can stay or you can go. You can divorce my daughter tomorrow, but you have to make a decision by tomorrow. You'll be a big Talmud Chacham. I'll support you 100%. You can live in your own house because he wanted even though he was like disconnected, he still wanted his daughter to have a way. So then this guy was.
I understand. Why did he suggest that he divorce his daughter?
No, he said either you can take this offer knowing who I am and knowing I am, or you have the option. You know, if you think I tricked you and so badly, then you can divorce my. So the guy's going over in his mind: should I divorce the girl? And then he goes and speaks to her. He figures, and the bottom line, I should speak to my wife. She's my wife. You know, that's the whole point. And she said, "Are you kidding? You think I like living the way my father lived?" And he ended up making the decision to stay married. But then it came time for his second daughter to get married, and he didn't want to go to Hungary. Probably the word had spread out already that he was a big, not Shem Shemayim, not a Yer Shemayim. So whatever. So he went somewhere else in a very far part of Russia to marry off his other daughter, and he went to a small town to a chassid of the Baal Shem Tov, and there was a chassid of the Baal Shem Tov who basically he saw a real he met, as soon as he saw Feivel, he knew that Feivel was not a good guy. You could tell like just by his look that he wasn't a real Yer Shemayim, and he wasn't being amistic. And he saw like something.
He asked that he should be revealed to him in a dream whether he should go through with it or not.
Yeah, and basically he was told by the Baal Shem Tov, right?
They told him from Shomayim that this was the Bashar.
That this is the Bashar of the son, and then she came
So he
married.
agreed for the marriage.
So he agreed for the marriage, but he said to Fivish that the only way that he's going to be married is if before he dies he'll do complete teshuvah.
No. This was during the wedding. So they said, no Fivish, when are you going to do tshuva? And he said 3 days before. If I only knew when I would die, so I would do tshuva 3 days before. So he said, so you promise? So he shook his hand and he said, yeah. And then many years later, one night,
He had a dream that the father of his son-in-law came to him in a dream and said, "Five-ish, remember all those years ago you said you're going to do 2 or 3 days before you pass away?
so now it's 3 days
Now it's 3 days before you pass away." So Five-ish, went crazy. He started doing the big trip. He told him that he can't eat for 3 days.
Oh, so he went to the, he was taken to
He
the
said go to the Baal
Baal
Shem Tov, yeah.
So he wanted to go to Baal Shem Tov. He didn't know what to do. After so many decades of sinning and everything, in 3 days he didn't know how he's going to do tshuva for all this stuff. So the Baal Shem Tov told him, you're going to fast for 3 days and you're going to go in the Beis Midrash. You're going to, anybody that walks in, you're going to throw yourself by their feet and you're going to say, I'm 5 years a sinner and regret everything you did and I'm doing tshuva. And after 3 days, basically the Samach Mem was making a whole case in Shemayim, how come in 3 days he's going to get rid of so many years of sinning. So they said, they decreed basically that if he's going to be able to trick him into eating treif, so then the tshuva will not be accepted. And so after that came in a man to the Beis Midrash and Five-ish threw himself on his feet and did the whole thing, said all those words, and he said, first he told him, is this a man, is this a way that an adult behaves? So he explained himself, then this guy went and sat down with the Gemara and he pretended to learn everything wrong. So he was saying the words of the Gemara, everything in the wrong way. And Five-ish was telling him, excuse me, but that, you're not getting the pshat. So he said, wow, you're such a Talmud Chacham. Why don't you, come and learn? Why are you sitting on the floor? So then he offered him some food and he refused. He had some fish and he saw some wax from a candle with a tail that fell on it. So he told him, if I was you, I wouldn't eat that. Five-ish told him. This is treif. Your food became treif. And so then he offered him some bread, and he didn't want to eat without washing. And so he said, okay, so I'll take you to wash. Took him to the sink, there was no water, and then he took him to the mikveh. It was also empty.
Couldn't walk at that point.
Right, he was too weak. So while he was trying to get away, he threw himself onto the empty mikveh, and over there he felt the Baal Shem Tov's hands, and he heard a voice. Now, because of the Mesilas Nefesh you had, now basically your tshuva is accepted. That was the story how he was Mekadosh Shemayim.
And then he passed away.
And you lived happily ever after. All right, let's go.
What do you tell a person on the 120th birthday? You usually say to 120, what do you tell them on that day? Have a great day.
Okay, so I'd like to get a little bit of feedback. Just tell me, are we getting the sense of what the Rebbe is explaining about ponim and ocher b'yocher? Yeah? Sometimes there could be a higher madrega, but in a lower level of comprehension, and a lower madrega, but in a more direct level of comprehension. Right? Ponim. Like we say, Bina is indirect knowledge. Bina is logical knowledge. Logic does not bring you in touch with what you're studying, with what you're learning. It tells you about it. Whereas Midas, you actually feel the reality of it itself. even though it is on a lower level, it's on the tangible level. Yes? You with me? Okay. Okay. So we will start on the line, middle of the page. The line begins the Bechina Zo, page Tes. So, okay, and we're going to go at the end of that line. So Zo, which means Midas, is lower than Bina, but it is in a manner of ponim beponim, which means that you actually relate to the real thing. Let's get, so to speak, a tangible handle on this, because we can learn it and understand it on the spot, and then walk away. We have nothing to carry with us. In Seichel, which is Bina, you can even project, like, what would it be like if such and such? Like, when you are solving a puzzle, how to put things in the right place. You can solve a puzzle, let's say, putting a picture puzzle together without knowing what the picture looks like. If the piece fits, you put it in. You understand? You're not really designing the picture at all. The picture results as after you finish putting all the pieces together. Oh, wow, that's what it is. But you never even intended, never even had an idea what you're doing. This is the most oche beoche that could be. You know what I'm saying? You're taking pieces, you don't even know what you're doing. In Bina, it's not in that degree, as we're going to learn. Nevertheless, in Bina, it's also in the sense that you're making logical assumptions. You don't really relate to the entire reality, as we're going to discuss. Whereas in Zoh, feeling, you cannot get a feeling unless there is something real. It can be touched by something which does not represent a reality.
What does it mean?
What does it mean? Okay. You see a picture, let's say a painting of a poor person. Are you going to feel mercy, pity for that man in the picture? Hello?
Yeah, no.
You're not. Why not? Look at this. Look at this man. Look at this picture. This is the picture. This is a realistic picture of a man that lived 500 years ago. Aren't you feeling bad for him? Not going to feel bad for him. You understand? Mm-hmm. Because there's no real. It's not real. Even though you can study history, and it makes a big impression on you. That's a bina. Oh, this is how they lived in that town and that time. Wow. Right? We can study it, and it's very meaningful. But emotionally, it has no meaning for that whatsoever. Because an emotion is touched only by direct reality. Bina is ochel b'yochel. You know about something, it also makes sense. And it's significant, and you want to know more about it. Okay? So this is a tangible way of remembering ochel b'yochel and ponim b'ponim. Zoh is ponim b'ponim, even though it's on a much lower level. Okay? Ubina, and this is what we're going to discuss now about Bina. Ubina, you have the line, right? Shalamayla mizo, which is above Zoh, hu b'bchinas ochel b'yochel. What is the meaning that it's above Zoh? We discussed that already. The principle of higher and lower essentially means how much, whether it relates to the tangible, the physical aspect, or it relates to a more significant aspect. This means higher and lower. Like for example, as we speak all the time, sight we know is the highest and the finest of our senses. There's nothing comparable to sight. Smell, touch, all these things are not comparable to sight. What is the principal difference? We discussed it many times. Principal difference is that all other senses, you're sensing it because something has touched you. You sense it through your own experience, which is a physical experience. Sight, you sense it without touch, without being touched, without coming close to it. Why then do you see it? You see it because it's real. So you're looking on the truth of it. So therefore, Bina, Seichel is like sight. Bina, you understand things because it was there. There is something real to talk about. Like the picture, I can describe the picture of 100 years ago. Okay, so it's much higher because you can talk about an aspect that you were never in touch with it, and it has nothing to do with you personally, but you're interested in its significance, in its truth. That's why Bina is higher than so. Okay?
Can I ask you a question about Zoh?
Sure.
We said that in Zoh, because it's ponim to ponim, so you get the real thing. But if it's, what does that mean?
It's the real thing, but you are affected by it. You know it not because it's real, but because it touches you. That's the difference. You understand? In Bina, you don't have the real thing, but you know it because it exists, not because it touches you. Whereas in Zoh, you relate to the real thing, but your relation to it is not because it's real, but because it touches you. Okay? The Baal Shem Tov says that the mitzvah V'ahavta l'reacha kamecha applies to every Yid in the world, even a Yid that you have never met, you don't even know that he exists. That is an extremely high level of midas. And though that midah is not direct midah, this is a midah that is based on seichel completely. Why do we have to recha komecha? What is the mitzvah we have to recha? You should love your fellow Jew like yourself. How can you love him like yourself? Because the seichel tells you the truth about his neshama. And that arouses your love for him. This type of love that the seichel creates, you could even love Avraham Avinu 3,500 years ago. Do you understand? And because it's a completely different love. It's not a love that is based on your feelings. It's based on your seichel. All right, let's continue. So Bina is Lamailo Mizo, and I explained the reason I say it's Lamailo is because that actually attaches and relates to the more spiritual aspect of the union, rather than the tangible aspect of the union. Therefore, it's higher. But who b'bechinas achu b'yochir. But the manner that you relate to the thing, is in a manner of ocher b'yochir. Ocher b'yochir means you know about it, but you don't really connect to it itself. Elo, except if this is ocher b'yochir, so what is the real milah of bina? Shehu b'bechina elyeno yeser. It relates to a higher oir, to a higher quality. What is the higher quality that it relates to? Hainu, bebechinas ha'oir elyon shemeir b'chochma. The supreme oir that shines through chochma. Bebechinas gili hamahus. In chochma it is in a manner of gili hamahus. In Chochmah really has the etzem itself, the real thing. Gili hamahus. The revelation of the very essence itself. Hine bebina. So that supreme knowledge that is present in Chochmah. In Bina, hu bechinas idiyas amitzius levad. In Bina, that same supreme element comes at the level of idiyas amitzius, of just knowing of the mitzius. Okiodua, and as is known, the Bina Nikro Shmiya. That Bina is called Shmiya. Okay, we'll stop here and we'll discuss this 2 lines or 1.5 lines that we just now read. To understand it, we have to discuss Chochmah for a moment, and Gilei Hamhus, and then we have to discuss the union from Yediyas HaMetzias and the union of Nikro Shmiya. 4 different things we have to discuss. To some extent, you're familiar with these things, but we have to really, so to speak, digest them a little bit. First, the principle of Chochmah. The reason I say this first of all, this is the first thing that's mentioned here. This is the basis of the whole discussion. And then also because Chochmah is a term that you're familiar with. Everybody heard those Chochmah. And each one of us has formed in his mind over the years some sense what is meant by the word Chochmah. Am I correct? What is meant by Chochmah? When we talk about Gilei Hamhus, I don't know if you ever contemplated what Gilei Hamhus means. Maybe you did. But the word Chochmah has come about many times, and you already gave it some thought. Therefore, if we discuss it, we can actually touch on some of your previous understandings and bring it out, hopefully in a clearer way. Will anyone volunteer to tell me what strikes them when they say the word Chochmah?
Wisdom.
That's not the strike, that's a translation.
Generally we say it's like when you have a first thought in your mind, you can't even describe it yet. You're having like a flash of an insight.
That's called Chokhmah. That's correct. When you elaborate on it, what's so special about this?
You're getting the whole thing at once, and then, like, the way I think about it is, for example, we can, like you said about sight, Chokhmah is like seeing. And like when you can see, for example, a page full of words, you can see the whole thing at once. Even though you're not actually yet reading it word by word. That would be like the Bina aspect. Try to break it down into all the details. You see the whole thing at once, even though you're not, you see it for what it is. You're not yet.
Well, that's not an example, I think, falls short, because when you see a page, you have no idea you have absolutely no idea what it is, what's in it.
Right, but you see the whole
Your
thing.
Bina, see, okay, before we go on. The Bina is a derivative of the Chokhmah. In other words, what comes through in Bina, that's what we're saying over here. Bina knows that which in Chokhmah is B'chinas Idiyas HaMehus, in Bina is Idiyas HaMetzias. There's a relationship between their knowledge. Okay. Now, when you see a page and then you learn it, is there a similarity and any commonality between that?
Isn't there?
You explain to me what's the commonality.
No, I guess there isn't.
I guess just seeing the bigger picture, though. That's what he was saying.
No, he said it right, but giving him an example is a separate. You have to really understand what you're trying to say. It's not. It's
The
a.
example you gave the other day was a smart person will tell you how to make money, teach you how to make money. But a wise person will tell you whether it'll be good for you to go about going and doing it that way, right?
Right.
So,
Okay.
in the sense that will it benefit you in the broader picture for your life? If you go to the wise
All right. So
person.
that's where the word chokhmah is related to wisdom. Right. Okay. Okay. That is correct usage of the word chokhmah, the word. But in terms of the three faculties of the mind, chokhmah, bina, v'das, these three faculties are interrelated. So therefore you have to start from chokhmah and understand that bina is a derivative of that. And understand that das follows after that. So before we even leave das alone, so to speak, but we have to understand chokhmah from that perspective. Like the Rebbe says over here, that which in chokhmah is idiyas hamehus, in bina is only idiyas hametzias. Okay. So that is a correct example of wisdom, but we have to explain in terms of this basic concept of chokhmah and bina. What is that unit? What is this in this? Two elements that describe the intellect. So you started saying that chokhmah is where you have the first spark, the first sighting of the inyan. That's chokhmah. Which would mean that bina follows after that. Which would mean
Now you're analyzing.
we focus in to that sighting, and you try to decipher what's in it. And how do you what does it mean to decipher what's in it? when you have this spark of wisdom, this enlightening, this spark of clarity, even though, like you said, it's like seeing, like sight, but there's a difference. It would seem to have a difference between sight and that, although in the long run they're very similar. What would be the difference? Explain to you what the difference is. In sight, you can see something that doesn't make any sense at all. You can't even put it in context. What's going on over here? And yet it's there, so you see it. Chokhmah is not just a sighting. I see something, I have no idea, it doesn't make any sense. No. It's a sighting that does make sense. And you could put it in context. Except it's not fully comprehended. You see it and yet you don't have it. You see that this is right, but you don't have the full understanding why it's right. But you see that it's right. And then with Bina, you delve into that sense of this is right. Let's understand what makes it right. What does it consist of?
You gave the example people become firm through either going to a class and learning the facts and ideas and versus going to a Shabbos dinner. Somebody at a Shabbos dinner that sees that they like it, this is what they want. Is that like chachma because they can see that they like it, but they really can't comprehend why?
No. That's Zoh. That's an experience. That's what we said that's last time. This is actually an emotional experience. It touches him directly. That's not Chokhmah and Adina. They sense, they feel good about it. Personally, this is good, this is right. Whatever it is that they feel, but it's not Chokhmah. All right. There's obviously much more to be said about it, but we'll leave it at this. So Chokhmah is what we call, the Chassidus is called the Borag HaMavlik, the first spark of wisdom, first spark of insight. This first spark is actually telling you this is right. And you sense that it's right, you sense that it makes sense. But if you are going to kind of put it on paper or explain it to somebody, you have nothing to explain. When you focus in, but you have something to focus into. When you focus into it, you can begin to decipher the elements that are in this vision. What makes it right? What did I see? Why is it correct? For example, something that we've been discussing lately over and over and over again. 1 and 1 is 2. And there are two ways, as we pointed out, there are two ways of seeing it. 2 means 2 ones, which means there's no real relationship between these two. It's 2 ones, you can count. There are 2 ones. They don't become a unit of 2. They're 2 independent pieces, but you say there are 2 ones. And then there is the human perception of 2, is that there's actually a relationship between them. It's a unit of 2. Just like when you have a mezuman, you have 3 people, it's a unit of 3. It's not 3 independent. A minyan means 3, 10. A unit of 10. We discussed various things, okay? This principle of recognizing that 1 and 1 is 2 in a real sense of the word, not just 2 ones, is something that every person senses. Unless he became a scientist, then he loses his human insight altogether. But as long as he's a human being, he senses, yes, it's 2. And you're satisfied with that. But then as we are learning, we say, okay, now let's try to understand what makes you say it's true. What's behind it? You sense that it's right. But what's right about it? If you think into it, then you would see what makes it true. What makes you say, what do you sense about it? This is like the Bina, like we discussed. You sense that there is a similarity, there's a connection between them. Like we said, there is one cup and there's this cup and that cup. The reason there is this cup is because there is that cup. There's a relationship. If not for that cup, this cup wouldn't be in the world. They're all created with the same form. There's a real relationship. Remember we discussed this, whatever. That is the initial sense that there is a relationship between these two and it becomes a unit. That is natural human wisdom, insight. To further elaborate on it and distinguish between that insight and one and one is two ones, that's already, to elaborate on it, this is in Bina. This is in Bina. This is where you decipher the various insights that you have. Okay? Now, okay, so far so good. So this is Chochmah Bina. Now let's go. So we explained what Chochmah is. Then he says, Eir Elin Shemeir b'Chochmah b'Bchinas Gilei HaMahus. In Chochmah there is Gilei HaMahus. Gilei HaMahus means that there is a relation of the Mahus means of the reality itself. In other words, in Chochmah, you don't even know the reason why you see that this is so. You just see that this is true. You have not yet delved in and to understand why it's true here and not true here. All of that Chochmah, it senses that this is the way it is. So what do you see if you don't have the argument and all the explanations and all the reasoning? You see the reality itself, Gilei HaMahus. The reality itself. At this point, it would be behoove us to just add one more notch to this discussion. If in Chochmah you have Gilei HaMahus, and what you see the truth just because it's true, it has to come from someplace. A moment ago I didn't see it, now I see it. Where do I get it from? If I develop something logically with proofs, I know I develop something with arguments and proofs. But there is no argument, it doesn't go through the process of logical proofs. It's just, Gilei HaMahus, I see the truth. Where do you get it from?
I'm wondering how this deciphers from Das.
No, Das, we'll come back to that.
Like,
No, don't think about that.
Really?
No, because right now, if you're going to think about Das, when we talk about Chochmah, if you think about Chochmah, when you talk about Das, you'll know neither.
But your idea, it's
Book of thoughts, man.
like already idea, so it's like the understanding.
No. Try to understand Gilei, the words Gilei HaMahus. And all I'm asking is, okay, we understood what it, like you said, there's a direct knowledge. I'm just pointing out that it would be valuable, very valuable, for us to try to understand where we get that from. And let me tell you what's compelling me to go that deep. One very simple thing. If you were 18 years old and learning this, I would say, leave him alone. This is not 3 years later you'll talk to him about it. You don't have a 3 years later. You're up there and beyond. So we have to lay it on as thick as we can so that you have the full insight at the moment. Who knows how many more lines we'll have a chance to learn. You understand? So even though it becomes very tedious and very hard and really, so to speak, stuffing your little minds never, it's okay. Stay with me, but think about Chochmah when I talk about Chochmah, not about Das. That's going to disrupt it completely. Okay? You with me?
Yeah.
I don't mind you ask me afterwards, but if you think about Das when I'm talking about Chochmah, then it's counterproductive completely. Here is the important thing to understand about Chochmah. Chochmah is described in Tanya. You've learned right in the beginning of the third Perek. Chochmah is called Koyach Ma. Remember that? And he explains what is the meaning Koyach Ma. Means that even though it's a Koyach, but it is a Koyach of Bittul. It doesn't have its own presence. If it does not have its own presence, then what does it know? It knows only the true presence from which it comes. In other words, this is where Chochmah get its information from the Nefesh, from the Ratzon HaNefesh. Let's bring it down to our moshel of sight. Sight, Chochmah is called Re'iyah. The one thing that's quite obvious in sight is the one absolute quality in sight is the translucence of the eye, transparency. The eye does not feel what it sees, like the hand feels what it touches. The ear hears the sound. The eye just allows the sight to come in. And the whole being of the eye is that it has no interference. Like a glass. What's the difference between a glass and a wall? Why can't you see through the wall and you can see through the wall, to the glass? The same tree exists on the other side, on the other side of the wall. Why don't you see the tree? To the glass you see it, and to the wall you don't see it. What's the answer?
The glass is transparent.
What?
The
Say again?
glass is transparent.
Because it's transparent. And the wall? Why is the wall? Explain to me the difference between being transparent and not transparent.
It doesn't let the light through.
Go ahead. You've learned Chassidus. The wall presents its own presence. I'm here. The glass is self-effacing. I'm not here. It doesn't insist, oh, look at me. It doesn't say, don't look. It's nothing to see. I serve whatever purpose I serve, but there's nothing to see. To see is only what there is to see beyond. This is a touch beetle. You understand? It's transparent. The wall is not transparent. Why is the wall not transparent? Because the wall presents its own presence. I am here. So first you have to look at me. That's what you're going to see. This is din ha'chochma. Sight. Which is sight. How the eye, the way the eye is made from a miracle thing, what is the principle in the eye? Transparency. The eye does not grab the object and then bring it to your mind, like a hand or whatever it is. It's transparent. Whatever is visible goes through the eye automatically. You don't even know that you see through your eyes. You just see it. The ear, oh, wait a second, don't make it fine. But my eardrums are killing because the sound is too loud. It doesn't work in the eye like this. Because the eye is not a participant in the sight. It just allows it to be seen. This is Dinya HaChochma. Where is Chochma get its knowledge, its information? Chochma gets its information directly from the Nefesh. How come it has that information directly from the Nefesh? Because Chochma is self-effacing. And it allows the light of the Nefesh to come right through.
That's from, would that be compared to like action?
What?
Nefesh, like action?
No. Nefesh is the Neshama, what the Neshama knows.
Right feeling.
I'm sorry?
Right feeling from the shower. God knows this.
Yeah, okay. We have to understand, okay, all of our koiches, they all function because we have a living soul in us. If I hit my hand on the table and it hurts my hand, yeah, it's true, my hand is sensitive to it, but it's not my hand my hand is not sensitive. This piece of paper doesn't get hurt when I hit it. And the hand does. Why? Because the hand has a nefesh, has a living soul. All our koiches are functioning because there's a living soul in it. There are different levels of the sensitivity of that life, whether it is in touch, which is on a much lower level, or it's in sight, which is a much higher level, or it's in intelligence, which is a supreme level. We understand because the nefesh understands. You have a logical presentation. And who can you present it to? Only to a human being. You can't present it to a cat. I've always repeated. Why? This is a logical presentation. It's a logical head, logical hina. I don't have the human soul to relate to logic. The primary reality that carries all of our faculties is the nefesh. The neshama, they are a life force. Regardless of how convincing and tangible the argument is, it all depends on the nefesh. Except I said in Chochmah there is a much higher sense of the nefesh than in Bina or in touch. Chochmah is the first moment. That's what you said in the beginning. The first moment where a person becomes aware of the reality of seichel, of intelligence. Where does he get that reality? From the nefesh. Ultimately, 1 and 1 is 2 in the real sense of the word. What we have in our intelligence is only a subset of the reality of this truth. The nefesh knows the truth itself. The real truth is known only at the highest levels of the nefesh.
What is nefesh again? Can you repeat nefesh? What is it?
A soul,
But this is one of
dusha.
No, but nefesh is just part of the soul. It's not.
I don't mean dafke. I don't mean to separate nefesh, ruach, neshama, chayim. Nefesh means the
No,
life
ruach,
force.
last period, right? The soul.
Whatever. I'm not using the word nefesh in a specific
Okay.
level of
Yeah,
soul.
Okay, the soul.
Yeah, the soul, the life force. And this is why we say this is what chokhmah is. Because of its self-effacing quality, nature, it is sensitive to what the neshama says. Like when a person delves into a concept, and is trying to understand the concept. What does understanding the concept mean? Understanding the concept means that when he concentrates on it, he contemplates on it, he gets a spark. Where does the spark come from? From the nefesh. If he concentrates and focuses deeply enough, he gets a sense of what his nefesh tells him, why this is true. The only source of truth that he can have is from the nefesh, because the nefesh has all this is real life. This is the reality itself. Life is a godly reality. This is what he knows. This is what he has. This is why we say that in Chokhmah there is what he says over here, B'chinas Gilui HaMehus. Chokhmah is B'chinas Gilui HaMehus. Chokhmah, we're saying Gilui HaMehus, because Chokhmah is so self-effacing, I mentioned this word effacing, it does not present its presence, it just allows everything to flow through it. Therefore in Chokhmah there is the truth itself, the Mahus itself. It is not through its own experience that it tells you what it experiences. It's telling you what there is, what the truth exists over there. Just like the glass allows you to see the tree, not because the glass says, "Oh, I see a tree here. It's a tree." No, you see the tree directly. Gilui HaMahus. You understand? When you see the tree through the glass, you don't see a reflection of the tree. You don't see how the glass presents it to you. The glass doesn't present anything. It just allows you to see it. And this is the Gilui HaMahus Simcha. So this Gilui HaMahus, this is, so to speak, the highest type of oil there is. Bina,
Highest type of what?
oil. The oil means revelation from the nefesh, from the soul. And then in Bina applies itself to that same oil, because Bina is fed, it attaches itself, so to speak, and focuses in on that which is realized in the Chokhmah. But Bina understands it at a much different level. It makes sense of it. It explains it. Therefore, it doesn't have Mahus, it has the Metzias. What are the parameters? What are the ingredients that make you see it?
Would that be like compared to the wall? Bina? Saying like
Well, it's not compared to, because the world doesn't allow you to see it. You will compare to like you say, Shmiya. If I saw something, or you saw something, and you tell me what you saw. So to you, this is a reality. What do I hear? A description of the reality. You understand? What you know, what I hear from you is not the same thing. It's the same thing, but it's a totally different level. You were really impressed by it because you had a direct relationship to its own reality. And I only hear the description of what made you so excited, but not the excitement itself. There's no way you can convey to someone the experience of sighting. No way, absolutely. You can tell them what you saw, but there's no way that you can get in experience sighting without seeing it. There's no way. You go and see something unusual. You go to Niagara Falls. Anybody of you saw the Niagara Falls? You did see Niagara Falls. The Niagara Falls is. Tell us what Niagara Falls look like. Is it impressive?
It's extremely impressive.
Okay, makes us all excited like that.
What do you do? The best way I could describe it would be the picture. I can describe the picture, but that doesn't really sense being right in front of you to the point where you go right over the edge.
Make Avram as excited as you are. Go ahead. Let me see you do that.
As you get closer and closer to the Niagara, you hear the booming sounds and the booming here, and your ears can't take it. It gets so loud, you have to close your ears. Like, hold on, even that doesn't really work. And then as you get closer, you see behind the waterfall, there's no water. You see how pristine that is. And you see how calm it is right behind the waterfall. And then you see right in front of the waterfall, everything is constantly, there's crashing, there's sounds. You see people looking, taking pictures. The whole people are surrounding. And then you go up to the area they call the wet deck. You see this wood that's become so wet over time that it just has like, it just looks like it's wet, if I can even describe that. Just the nature of it says wet. And you go over it such that you're hanging over Niagara Falls. You're standing right over the part where it's falling out. You can see.
Okay, enough. No. Let me see.
I'm just on vacation.
Yeah, put the stuff in bottle and put it inside.
You understand? This is the ear and shmiya.
Bottle.
My saying was what year?
What?
What was my saying? My talking was Iya?
No.
Bina.
This is Bina. You only can transmit what you can describe. This is not. You can't transmit your own experience.
But only because I had experience. In the first place, can I even attempt to explain?
No, because you saw it. You will talk about it because you had experienced it, because you touched it. Otherwise, you say, forget it. Nothing to talk about.
If
Leave
you
me
hear
alone.
someone who described like an Indian from Bina, can you describe Chachma? Or
No. From Bina, you don't come to Chochma. Chochma feeds Bina. You understand?
Now I have knowledge about like the wet deck.
Yeah, you have like that deck, and and you forgot to tell you, there's 5 million gallons of water falling down every minute. Isn't that impressive? Forgot to tell them that. Anyway,
But that's not even seeing.
it is it's seeing in the sense that you see the Russian, whatever it is, makes no difference. In other words, the best that relating it to you can affect is that you would be interested to go and see it. Why do you want to go see it? I already told you to you. There's no way that would substitute you seeing it. You understand? That's the shot that Gilei Hamahus and Shmias Hametzias. But, and this is the Milo Bina, even though it has only the Metzias, but Metzias of what? Metzias of the higher insight of Chochmah, which is much higher than what the Zohar can have. It's a direct connect to the Nefesh itself. So this is where Bina is superior to Zohar, because it relates to a much higher intellect, to a much higher concept. But the manner in which it relates to it is external. It's bocher b'yocher. Whereas Zohar relates to it directly to the Yetzer. You understand? This is what the Rebbe is explaining to us.
Jewish psychology, no?
What?
Jewish psychology. Jewish psychology.
Psychology? What's my psychology?
Jewish psychology, no?
I don't know.
Is this Jewish psychology?
Jewish?
Is this like Jewish psychology?
Jewish psychology. Oh. You know something? No.
No?
Uh-uh.
Rabbi Rashab actually visited Freud.
Yes, there are some things it's Freud, that's true,
It's
but
not psychology?
no, this is not psychology. And maybe sometimes we'll discuss it. As I said before, I said if you become a scientist, a psychologist, you lose your human touch.
Can you give me back my human touch? I was in college for chemistry. Can you give me back my human touch? Can I gain a human touch back once I get there?
You did not, first of all, when you say that you lose human touch, it doesn't mean that you lose it. It means that you are not using it. The discipline of your logic, of your mind of thought, is that you don't have to engage in human quality, but you're still there. You have it, and when you learn, you say, "Oh, wait a second. There's another dimension to intellect. Total different dimension. Ideas are mahus. You understand? You're definitely capable of it. The only time that one said, oh, I lose it, it's also not lost it, but it becomes very difficult to access, is when one insists, this is the absolute truth. This is the end of all discussion. The scientific truth, this is the absolute truth. That man I have a real mercy, pity for. Because he actually is, not only is he not using his human intelligence, but he doesn't want to use it. Even if you show it to him, he doesn't want to use it. So you have nothing to worry about, except that you have to learn. All right, gentlemen, this will be it. I hope we came away with better understanding than we came in. And next week I'm not going to be here. And
Hey, babe. What are we gonna do?
Are you not coming next week?
if you're sincere in your question, I'll give you an answer.
Okay, absolutely.
Review it.
Yeah, go over
We
it.
both have notes. Review it. And you both have different understanding of it. Debate it. And then we'll come back and you'll have questions. That's how you learn.
Sounds good. I don't think see, I just think me and Gets, like, if we're gonna learn it, it's gonna take us like an hour to go through it, and then we're gonna like miss all the deep, you know.
No.
I mean, we'll get, you know, probably
Do that.
we'll miss you.
I'll miss you too, but this is what
Why is nothing to do?
psychologist will not know what you're talking about when you said that there's Chokhmah and Bina. No. The psychology is the beginning of all awareness. The beginning of all awareness is when your mother died.